Nioro du Sahel, in the region of Kais, more than 450 kilometers north from the Malian capital, Bamako. On this morning in July, there is a warm, dry wind, typical of the Sahelian climate, which rages in this zone close to the Mauritanian border. Agriculture and animal husbandry are the main economic activities in Nioro, although trade and crafts are fairly well developed there. Until the monsoon season starts in this part of Mali, the circle of Nioro is strongly affected by the global warming that strikes in the country of the Sahel.
As you know, Nioro is an agro-silvopastoral district located in the heart of the Western Sahel in the Republic of Mali. Therefore, following the harms of climate change, we live through the scarcity of rain, drought, deforestation, all the disadvantages such as the rural exodus too. As a Sahelian, the country warming here is felt daily, and the population can be taken as a witness. The groundwater is far away, because water remains a rare commodity in Nioro. There is also the drying up of the species that used to be in this ecology, and there is the heat factor. As Sahelians, and being familiar with the heat, we found out 2 years ago that it is becoming hotter and hotter. We are at the door of the desert. We are exposed to water and wind erosion. There are things that emanate from the manifestation of climate change.
The rainy season has barely settled in the Gadjaba-Kadjel commune, which is a favorite area for pastoralists in search of pasture. Here, pressure on the ecosystem by humans and animals has accentuated soil depletion and degradation. These practices, harmful to the environmental balance, combined with phenomena such as the heat wave, the absence of rain, overgrazing, or the advance of the desert, have motivated the Malian state to implement since 2014, with the support of the World Bank and the Global Environment Facility, the PGRNCC, the Natural Resources Management Project in the context of climate change.
Si nous voulons améliorer les revenus des populations, si nous voulons lutter contre
If we want to improve the incomes of the people, if we want to fight against climate change, we must have the interventions at the grassroots. And it is in this context that this project has been prepared and actually implemented. We benefit from finance and support from the government of Mali, it must be said, but also and especially from the World Bank, the Global Environment Facility. It is very important to say that because the concerns are the same. Mali is affected by the effects of climate change and is not alone. Fortunately, in relation to this, we have partners who understand us. It is a national issue, so the people themselves have realized that they need to improve. We have to fight against the adverse effects of climate change. It is a long-term struggle, but I think that at a sub-regional level, we have realized that there are efforts to be made and are already underway. There are actions taken like the Great Green Wall, for example, and others. There is a dynamic partnership with all of Africa, but also with the whole world. We were in Ouaga for the celebration of the World Day to combat desertification, and some commitments were made by heads of state, including those of Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. These are initiatives to be encouraged, and even among ourselves as ministers, we can do a lot to help our people.
La question du changement climatique, elle est tellement vaste.
The issue of climate change is such a huge, key subject, and it requires means of great importance. Prior to COP21, the World Bank had already prepared a specific action plan on climate change adaptation issues for sub-Saharan Africa, for Mali and the Sahel countries. Among these elements, most of the activities being carried out within the framework of this project. So there is also an important element of the Bank in relation relation to this international desire to be able to cope with climate change. And above all, what's important is to ensure that the local communities are themselves involved and truly appropriate this. This is the innovation in relation to this project, because we wanted to deal with the communities, because the issue of climate change must be well understood by these communities, knowing that they are the victims and they suffer the most from these issues, both in terms of food security issues and their everyday lives. Because I think that today in rural areas, living conditions are becoming very difficult. We might find ourselves with questions of rural exodus of the youth towards the cities, and sometimes one might come across questions of migration which can become extremely complex.
This 5-year pilot project, worth than $21 million over 12 billion CFA francs, aims to strengthen the resilience of vulnerable populations to climate change through the promotion of sustainable land management in the 14 target municipalities of Nyoro, Nara, and Banamba circles.
Le Mali a élaboré une politique spécifique pour les changements climatiques.
Mali has developed a specific policy for climate change. Mali has a biodiversity protection strategy because it is a project to combat desertification and protect biodiversity in the context of climate change. So it calls the 3 main conventions of Rio de Janeiro. Sustainable production and consumption patterns are essential factors for the protection of the environment, on which we pay great attention to issues related to energy, water and sanitation, agriculture-related issues, forestry issues. In short, the PGRNCC, in its pilot character, intends to embrace all these aspects at the level of the populations that we will now consider as populations with multidisciplinary capacities that allow them to adapt to the living conditions in which they are today.
3.5 years after its entry into force, the PGRNCC, coordinated by the Environment and Sustainable Development Agency of Mali, has its first results on the ground. Several achievements have been recorded in the various components of the PGRNCC, including the financing of income-generating activities, particularly in the municipalities of Yerere and Gajaba-Kajel.
This project came to save us because everyone is there. My population is there, and we see the time spent, we see the environment live, we see the violent winds coming in, we see silting, we see deforestation, we see unusual things and unexplainable situations. But as soon as the project was introduced, since the launch of this project, there were many explanations and people began to understand. So for me, this project came to save my population.
I welcome and thank the project for the work that has been done. This has radically changed our lives because our children's diet has improved. We sell products from the garden to take care of our children, but especially to take care of their health. Before there were economic difficulties in the village, this project helped us to overcome these difficulties. We thank God because now we are able to solve our problems with the income from this project. We are an association of 53 members who benefit from this cattle fattening project. A total of 254 micro-projects were financed in various fields, ranging from bovine fattening, market gardening, crafts, and arboriculture. Although, thanks to the project, 1,250 farmers have been trained on SLM, Sustainable Land Management, like Isaka Dembele. This agricultural producer now uses new soil fertilization techniques, such as the compost pit, to improve the yield of his fields.
With climate change and because of the high heat and flooding, the low yield of agriculture, we were shown new methods to use, and it is new here because it seems that this is being done in other areas in Mali. There are manure pits with a depth of 1 meter and 3 square meters wide. We were able to make this realization during the month of March, and after 3 months, the results are here. The manure is good. We are transporting to the yields and fertilize them, and above all, this will help mobilize the peasants and encourage them to stay in their respective areas instead of moving each time in search of a new field.
However, the results were largely due to a wide-ranging media outreach campaign. Thus, no less than 6,000 messages on the SLM were broadcast through the airways of the partner radios of the project.
With this partnership, the collaboration between the Sahel region and the PGRNCC began 2 years ago. We have sent out several messages with this collaboration. For example, messages on bushfires, messages on species adapted to our environment. We have sent messages concerning the technique of soil restoration, the fight against erosion. There are messages like stone barriers. We have conveyed several messages for soil restoration and environmental protection to address the issue of climate change.
Tous les producteurs sélectionnés ont été équipés en pluviomètre.
All selected producers were equipped with pluviometer. Each rain gauge was installed at the field level. So since last year, every producer now has a rainfall estimate, and thus to the present day, which allows him from agro-weather data to sow in time and to conduct crop maintenance activities in relation to agro-weather advice. So these are activities that really make the most of the very little rainfall we have here in Euro, because we have between 400 and 500 millimeters.
Entre 400 et 500 mm en Euro.
Since the realization of this garden, all women have had occupations. We did not have water then, but then they came, they dug 2 wells, plus this well, we have 3 wells in total. Now, what women want is to increase the perimeter in question, because there are more than 300, 400 women, and what you actually see, it is not even the 10th of women, and it is crowded and busy already. Others are asking for it. It suits us, man, because women are helping us today to support the family.
In the long term, the Malian experience of natural resource management in the context of climate change should allow for an amplification of good practices of land and water resources management and biodiversity conservation. The project will also promote the adoption by communities of eco-responsible behavior, guaranteeing a harmonious and sustainable development.